Welcome to Creative Mornings, Virginia Beach. I'm so excited to see a packed house here today for our speaker. And with me, we have a couple seats too, so please fill in if you want. Tessa Hall Duquette here was the founder of The Garage, where we've been meeting for the last year and a half. And soon we'll be moving next door. We invite anyone who would like to stay today for 10:30. They'll be doing a ribbon cutting next door. So congratulations to Tessa on expanding. Quick housekeeping reminder, if you need to leave early, please sneak out the white door through the boutique out the front. And we're gonna get started. Okay. First, we're gonna do our manifesto. We're gonna go out of order. So Rachel, come on up and do the manifesto, and then we'll read our theme and introduce our speaker.
All right. Together. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in hugs and high fives. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome.
Very good. All right, we're going to welcome up Sarah, the Vibe intern. Give her a welcome. Good morning, Sarah. And she will read our theme.
So our theme for July is Mentor. It was chosen by our Glasgow chapter in Scotland, illustrated by Molly Hankinson, and is presented by Adobe. No one is born with all the knowledge and skills they'll need to thrive in life, so ask for help. We all could use a guide as we climb. Find your mentors and be a mentor in return. Your plans for growth are more likely to succeed if they include lifting others up as you rise.
Well done, Sarah. The Creative Morning global sponsor is Adobe, but here locally, our speakers are professionally filmed and photographed to document the growth of our creative community. Funding support from the City of Virginia Beach Arts and Humanities Commission, and thank you to our commissioners here today. Dr. Romero, Sunny, and then we also have a public art committee member here, Ashley. We truly appreciate your support and could not do this without you. The Arts and Humanities Commission helps fund all the year-round programming here in the Vibe District, so thank you all for that support. All right, so we do want to remind you really briefly that this is a global community, so you can go online at any time and access over 260 chapters worldwide. If you ever miss one of our events, thanks to Chris and Misty, they are documented very well online for people to go back and watch in the past. And we have a whole host of speakers throughout the end of the year. If you're interested in becoming a speaker, we invite you to submit some ideas. We're currently waiting for the themes for 2026. 2025 is booked. We're very lucky to have that booked. But please let us know you're interested so that we can start pairing people up with the themes in 2026, okay? All right, Val, would you like to come up?
Good morning. I'm here to introduce Deirdre Love, which is why you all are here. She has committed the last 30 years of her life to youth mentorship through the arts as the founder of Teens with a Purpose, and has won numerous awards and been featured in dozens of publications throughout her career. Teens with a Purpose was formed in 1996, and in 2007 became TWP, the Youth Movement, a 501c3 nonprofit youth development organization. The organization is celebrating over 26 years of experience in providing peer leadership, training, and has been recognized both regionally and nationally.
Can't be defeated or broken. I am the phoenix, I'm chosen. I will rise every time. I've got big dreams, I'm focused. I am a force and they know this. Creating the movement with my voice. Breaking chains, changing lives. I have spent my time holding my head high. Simply trying to fight just to stay alive.
This is a poem for Mama D. I'd always wanted to go to Disneyland, but 5 minutes into my trip, I realized that the place where dreams come true wasn't meant for little brown girls like me. No, we were never meant to be the mermaids or the princesses. The lucky ones might be on the edges of stories, but the rest of us had been tainted with villainy since birth. Now you tell me, how is it that the good guys get to use their guns without reason, play games with our lives, hide and seek in our rundown neighborhoods? They count our bodies like tokens. Better pay up for the sin of having dark skin. But while our self-worth turned into numbers and faith was almost lost, I found my haven under the shade of Purpose Park, with Mother Earth's branches restoring my value. Here I would always fit in. She told me I could be anyone, the princess, the farmer, the leader, planted hope with her seeds, growing fruits of a new child's dreams, building gardens with the love in her name. Mother Earth, Mama D. She didn't bear us, but she raised us. The strong, unwavering tree of justice, enduring the harsh winds of today to grant us a better tomorrow. So one day, when my daughter opens a new fairy tale, she won't dream of being a Disney princess. Instead, her dream will be to become a hero, just like our Mama D.
When the world throws us challenges, we press through them. Why? Because we're move makers.
Being bullied and called crippled because of your disability, bad grades, and behavioral issues, being made fun of for being hyper and different from those around you, we learn how to put trust into some, but not everyone. Leaning on those who care about us, using affirmations to remind us of who we are.
Smart moves. Moving to a new city and starting a new school hits us like a whirlwind. Academic burnout leads to mental health issues and suicidal thoughts. Struggles that come from not being recognized or listened to. Wanting to ask for therapy but being told to go to bed instead. Everyone has a voice and every voice deserves to be heard. Just because we're teens doesn't mean we don't have an opinion. So we write songs and create poetry to express our emotions. We make good trouble through our art. Bold moves.
Being beat up for not speaking English.
Hi, everybody. I had to put youth voice first. I'm somebody that likes to get behind their voices and not in front of them. And I wanted to introduce you to Teens with a Purpose before you met Mama D. When Kate asked me to talk about mentorship, I had not really thought about who was my mentor, in quotes. And I had to really reflect on what that means. I know how I give, but I had to really stop to think about who mentored me along the way. And so I'll just take you on the journey, and we're definitely going to share the other side of the coin, and that is how I mentor youth and how they pour into me as well. So I grew up in Harlem, and you can tell it was a long time ago if you look at the color of my hair. And one of my first mentors was Sister Bridget Ann. There were 7 of us. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. We went to St. Charles Borromeo School, and we lived in a blighted community. But this nun probably was the first person that made me see my value. She helped me understand that anything was possible and that I had the power to help. And I'm talking about, she was my teacher from 4th grade to we went through all the way to the 8th grade. So she taught me most of my elementary years. But so I had that constant mentoring, and I didn't think of it in terms of that, but mentoring and nurturing and encouraging in spite of, I could tell you all the stories about living in that time and in that space, but you all know the history, so you know what it was like. But I had this woman who saw me, and I believed her that I could do these things. Whatever I wanted. And that was the first seed for purpose for me. And I wanted to be a helper. I thought I wanted to be a nun, honestly, first, because of her. But I knew I wanted to be a helper. That died along the line. And so I was able to, tracking backwards, first to Sister Bridget Ann. Really, at the core, it was my mom who was my biggest mentor. And it was mostly by example. 4'11". By the time I was 11, I was bigger than Mommy. I couldn't fit her dresses anymore, any of that. But she had these 7 children who mostly were bigger than her. And our father died when I was very young. And so she raised this family, but she never raised us in a way of less. I didn't really know that I lived in poverty until other people really told me that. For us to go to school, she made the clothes and the robes that the priests wore and all of that. That was how she paid for our education. So we always had beautiful dresses because she knew how. And we always were involved in the arts because she made sure that we had outlets. And I remember one time I was bragging about something called some Italian dish with a made-up name, but I didn't know it was a made-up name. I thought it was like lasagna or something, but it was a name we called this dish. And I was telling everybody about it, and I was like, oh, this dish is so amazing. You haven't heard of it, blah, blah, blah. Mommy makes it so well. And she pulled me to the side, and she was like, almost like, you're old enough to know this now. That dish is whatever we have with cheese melted over it, baby. So they're just not gonna be able to find that in the store. But I, like just watching her with grace, with all these young people that she had to raise without their dad, and always holding herself high and showing us the best with what she had, so that I didn't see myself as poor until other people named it that, and Sister Bridget Ann doing that. So those two are my very first mentors. And then as I got older, I had another mentor who was actually my best friend. It was my cousin Stephen. And I never looked at him as that, but we were, best friends. And Stephen was part of the LGBTQ community. And his father wasn't pleased with it, my uncle wasn't pleased with it, and he was beaten because of it, he was shamed because of it, he was infected with HIV, and he died to AIDS-related causes when he was a teenager. And I loved him so much and wanted to protect and care for him so much. And I remember I had just moved to Virginia, and Stephen came, and we always, whenever he came, we slept in the same bed and we talked all night like girlfriends do. That's what we did. And so Stephen, that's what we did. And people were like, don't you know, if he sweats on you, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. And I don't know what's right and what is true, but I just know I love him and he's important to me. And his love and me not being able to help Stephen really moved me to the point where when I had the opportunity to do AIDS work, I said yes to, it was actually the teens at the church, Basilica of St. Mary's. They named it Teens with a Purpose, and our job was to help young people not get infected and give correct information and be creative in doing it. And it was Stephen, who inspired, and I consider that a mentor who inspired me to want to give something that I wasn't able to give to him. So I would say that Stephen was another mentor for me to move into the work that, that I've done most of my life. And so then I think about other people along the way that mentored me, and I think in terms of that personal guidance and connection, like there is this man, Michael James, at the Basilica of St. Mary's. And when I was there doing this ministry, I was out of the box. We were making a huge impact. We weren't like Catholic, we were a ministry. Anybody was part of it. So we always got in trouble for not being Catholic, So that was fine with me. And it was teenagers, so that was fine with them. So we were like doing the work and really serious about doing the work with poetry, music, comedy. They made up some, I could kind of see sometimes why we got in trouble. But, yeah, so and Michael James was sort of like the protector of Deirdre Love. He was like my champion. You go ahead. There's gonna be problems, but I got your back. Just keep being your beautiful self. Keep doing what you're doing. I got your back. And so he mentored me, he guided me, he protected me. I would come to him like, Michael, we're getting ready to do such and such, and he'd be, okay, and he would take a lot of the blows for the stuff that we knew we had to do because it had to be done. So he was another mentor who he guided me with his words, he protected me, and really helped me to move forward in the work that I got to do. And so that's another kind of mentorship that I was fortunate to have. And then if I move forward a little longer, we moved out of the church, we started the nonprofit. The teenagers said, now times are changing, the pandemic is not what it was before, partly because they did the great work that they did. Other people around the world too, but I'm just gonna give the teens some credit for the work they did in Teens with a Purpose. But anyway, so they said we don't want to confine our work to HIV/AIDS. So we didn't really change the mission, we just took the word HIV/AIDS out of it, and everything else remained the same, our mission was to empower young people to use their voice, creativity, reflection, and action to impact their peers, their communities, and the world. And so we kept going with that. So now the decision to make a nonprofit comes along, and I'm working a full-time job, and that was a ministry. And we did have a grant, but all I had to do in the grant was the work with the young people. And there were other people managing budgets and all the rest of that. And so moving into that space and forming a nonprofit and putting food on the table was a challenge. It was a lot more than I had anticipated. And I had two mentors that helped me at that point. One is my oldest friend who I'm still close to today, and that's Al Roker. He went to my brother's school, Xavier, and I went to St. Jean Baptiste when I was in high school in New York. And we were the two Black children in those schools at that time, the main ones. So we found each other and became friends. And I called him and I was telling him, we have to make this change and I don't know what to do. It's too much work and what am I gonna do? And he was like, Deirdre, you've been talking about this most of your life. I got your back, go and do it. So I quit my job, and it was because of that mentor who encouraged me and stood behind the words that he said. I stepped out on faith that he would have my back, but he lived up to it and guided me through it. So that's another kind of mentor who knows you, who believes in you, and who invests in you financially too. that was really, really important. Right up, he's been on our board all the way through our existence. And so, and then the other person that I hadn't thought of for a long time, but Karen Mantell was one of my best friends at Steel Incorporated, and she was one of the officers in the finance department. So I knew I had to build a board with people that had what I didn't have. And so Karen was that financial person, and then we had somebody who did legal. So we built a nice, simple board that supported, that believed in the vision, that were all, I had relationships with those people who believed in what I was doing, who witnessed the work, and who invested. And that point, and that was really more of the mentors for me. And then I as a business in creative youth development and being in our region and coming from a progressive city like New York and doing the crazy work that I just described to you that we were doing in churches, I couldn't find anybody here that was like doing that. And so on the West Coast, there was Youth First, that's it, Youth First, Youth Speaks. Youth Speaks on the West Coast and Brave New Voices, and we would go there every year. And there, James Kaz was another visionary who did a very similar work. But what he was willing to do for all of us, we were maybe 25 at the beginning, but all around the country, orgs, mostly young people, with the hopes of using youth voice to elevate different things in their communities. And James poured into us. He was already a millionaire. He was already well connected on the West Coast in his city. And he wanted all of us to have what he had. And every time we came for Brave New Voices or whatever convening, he paid to bring us there, and we brought our young people, but he had space for the adults who were leading the young people. And they were some as young as their 20s and the oldest in their 40s. And he shared all of the knowledge that he had, and he shared resources that he had. And I put this word, but it's not, it's a figure of speech. I sat at his feet because I was swallowing every word that he said, because I knew that could make the difference for us back home. And so I cultivated a relationship, and I learned so much about the business. James Kaz, Hadari Davis, Michael Sorelli, that was another partner we met way back, younger days, no silver. And we sat in a room together talking about doing a Youth Poet Laureate program. And so we were the foundation for that national program that Amanda Gorman came out of, and that we're now the only organization in Virginia where any young person who wants to be the Virginia Poet Laureate, they have to come to us to get that opportunity. And so I learned a lot from people who do the same kind of work that we're doing in that way. And then I have two other groups. The other one was later on, Fran, a volunteer who was a retiree who came to help us for a couple of hours a week. He stayed for years. He taught us so much about finance and oh my God. Michelle and I, we thought we already knew. We didn't. Fran wrote the book and learned the org and loved us through so many things. He really helped us move to where we are today. And then my other mentor, I would say my son, Andre, is a mentor to me. When he was growing up, he had no choice because he was too young, so he had to be with me. He didn't have to like it, he didn't have to embrace it, but he had to be there. And he embraced it from 11 years old. We had those AIDS comic books, and he just spent time in it. I remember visiting someone who was on his, getting ready to transition out, and Andre, my little not teenager yet, is in the room with me while I'm there with Callaway, getting ready to transition. Like, he had these experiences, and we get in the car and he's supporting me through things like a child. You wouldn't think a child would be able to do that. And then he had his own life, his basketball, his marching band, all of these other things that he did. And I was always included and welcome. And I would always tell my friend, that's not typical for a teenager. Any day the shoe is gonna drop and he's gonna like, Ma, that's it. He never, like, I would tiptoe, this is gonna happen. But he really showed me that young people that see you pouring into them and know how much you love them. And I would listen to him and spend so much time with him that I didn't get kicked out of his space. He welcomed me in, and that was mentorship that helped me be a better mentor to all the young people that I have the privilege of mentoring today. And so I would say my other mentors, a lot of them are in this space. Michelle, Shauna, Muhammad, Jalik, Malik, Duran, Kaylee, Shayna, like, they helped mentor me. I gave them everything that I gathered along the way. No one gave me the passion and no one gave me the commitment, but these people like held me up and gave me things I needed so that I would have it to give to them, and they give it back to me. Like, they give back to me what I am able to give to them. I love Duran when I have had so many opportunities to sit in the office and he'd be like, yo, this is what's happening. I don't know how I'm gonna deal with her. And I'm like, yo, y'all just come in and sit down and I'll just be your company, and y'all just talk it out because y'all have this. And they would do their thing, and then they trusted me to let me be in a space of confidence and to support and to come, and not to speak in a way like scared to talk to an adult, but like, I trust you, this is what's happening, what you got for me, and I had what I had for them. And we always had the idea of that young people can inspire one another, and that the rest of the world may not be doing what we're doing here in Teens with a Purpose, but you have a space where you can build something for tomorrow, where a safe space is just a word that you created every day that you walk in here. So how are you making it that? And how do you speak to the world? How do you bring your voice out in the world and not be afraid? Oh my God, we just went to an event in Norfolk. These young people ran the thing and told the city what their vision was and what was missing, and with no hesitation. And not just the poets, but the young people learn that, and they learn that from the love that they get, and they learn that from knowing that they're valued and they're supported on so many different levels. The people who, I just semi-retired, that means I just get to help, and I love that. And that just happened, and Michelle and Andre are the co-EDs, and Shauna and Malik are the next in line in leadership. And the people who grew up in the org are the people who are running the org today, and they're still really young and really capable. Duran's the youngest one in the room who's helping to run the org, but he's the senior youth leader for our summer program, and he held that down. So it's just about love and recognizing mentors in a different way. So I guess, I don't know where I am in the time frame, but what I would say is, to me, mentors is not just that person that you go to and say, will you mentor me? And you mean a checklist of things you want to accomplish, but acknowledging the people that poured into you to the point where you want more, and building the relationships with people who will pour into you as long as there's some reciprocity. We receive, but you give it back. It's a give and take, and I can say the young people in our org and the young people that we get to influence have poured so much into me, and it's a space of reciprocity and growth, and yeah, that's what I have to say. Beautiful.
Thank you. All right, so pause for a second. How many years were you with Teen with a Purpose?
So if it was 1996 and this is 20, so that's 29 years.
29 years and she just retired. Another round of applause. Yeah. Wow. We're gonna semi, right. We are gonna do some questions and answers real quick. But for me, I'm really curious. Thank you, first off, for being here. Could not have thought of a better speaker for our theme today. What has been your career highlight as you look back? Because I know you've received multiple recognitions, you've spent the time with the teens. I know those moments, those private moments are probably the most heartfelt, but what is maybe your biggest public moment that you're really proud of for your group?
That's really, All right, so this is gonna sound really weird, Kate, but the recognition and all of that stuff that I've personally received or the org has received, it propels us forward, and that's what I'm grateful for. But I think a highlight in the strangest way was during the pandemic, the COVID-19. And this is gonna sound really strange. We lost a teenager to COVID. We were devastated. The teenagers were devastated. And we asked a mental health professional to come in and help us through it. We did our first healing circle because we needed it for ourselves and for our young people. And then other people saw what we were going through, and they offered to help. And Cynthia Ramirez and her group was one of the groups that helped. But we started doing healing circles. We started doing mental health first aid training. We helped so many other people who were living through that time, especially young people. We prevented so many other people from becoming infected. I know that's weird to say a moment like that is a highlight, but the highlight was how resilient we were. Like, schools were closed, and the young people were at home, and in our community, they don't have Wi-Fi they didn't have food for them, and we created an outdoor school, and that's Purpose Park today, and it was a beautiful space, blackboards, and but we galvanized the people who support us to help us, so they had iPads. We got the city to put in Wi-Fi so that they can do their classwork. I remember Shauna saying, "We're not teachers, Mama T. We learned to be teachers." Like they had to look up all the stuff and talk to teachers online, and we had IEPs and all different kinds of things that young people were going through. And that's, to me, that was a huge moment to see, not just me, because I felt that in my heart and I was gonna do that, but none of them had to follow me through that door. They could have all, because we were doing virtual, and to the point where we knew our young people were not getting what they needed and all of that. So that's a high point for me, personally.
Very good. Okay, who has a question? Back. Do you want to come around? Can you come around real quick? All right, Misty.
So I meet a lot of people, like all day, every day, and one like common factor that I find is people don't necessarily think they're worthy of being a mentor. They think that like, you know, what makes me big enough to be in this space? What would you tell people that feel like they need to be something different in order to help others?
Wow, very good.
Thank you for asking that question. I really would just go back to Sister Bridget Ann, who showed me my value. It is the smallest things that, I think that word seems so big that people think I can't fill those shoes. But Muhammad, all the things I talked about that I can do well, one of the things is we have to give out flyers, and I just had a problem with knocking on people's doors and getting rejected. And this man showed me how to engage people on that level. Just a simple thing like that led to me being able to say hello to everybody. I'm really a true introvert, and that was mentoring me to the point that now I can talk to anyone on any level. So I would say to anyone who thinks that they're not capable of being a mentor, take that word mentor out of it and think about what is it that is your gift, what is it that is your talent, and just be willing to share it, because that's the other part with mentorship. People, they have to be people you're in relationship with, not somebody you just see and admire and want what they have, but build a relationship. And the other part is, knowing your worth and being willing to give it away. Because that's, some people think what I have, I don't want you to know about it because you might steal it. They can't be you. So knowing your value, knowing your worth, building a relationship and giving it away.
Great. Okay, another question? Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today. I started as a volunteer with an organization, and now I help co-run it. But as we grow and try to expand, I'm being pulled away from the ground floor, and I'm really struggling with that. So I don't necessarily know what the question is, but suggestions, or because it sounds like you stayed core to being with the youth and helping them. And I think we work with older adults and people living with dementia, and I don't see them every day now. And that's hard, so.
That's another good one, because I am you, and Duran and them, all of them know that, even before this semi-retirement. It's a reality that if your org grows and you're the ED, you end up in your office way more, especially for people like us who are mission and passion driven, and we want to be connected with the people. It just, it really is going to come with the territory. So what I have done is I kind of carve out times when they know that I'm going to be there. I'm always going to make time to listen to poems before they go to the poetry season, things around the country. I'm always going to be at certain events to see them. Sometimes all I would get to do really would be to walk in the space and walk around the room and hug people. Or it has even been so busy that I'm walking in and it's almost like an understanding. I am not even stopping for the hug. They stop me and hold me. So I think it's a reality. It's just trying to make sure you find ways to be in their presence, but understanding that when you're not there, the work that you have to do is so necessary for them to even be there, but it kind of sucks, yeah.
I think anyone here who works for a nonprofit can relate to that. I mean, your work is critical, though. If you don't do what you do, they can't do what they do, right? It's important. One final question. Garrett, can you come up here, Garrett?
So I loved what you shared at the beginning about your mom involving you all in the arts and how that enriched a life. Can you help us understand as a creative community how we can make it accessible and draw young people in?
Yes. I love all this.
Yeah. You can move that and sit. Go ahead and move that. Oh, sorry.
Thank you for that question. That's a really good one. And that's something that's really, really, really important to me. So we have relationships. What are you doing back there, Duran? We have real relationships with different arts orgs that make space for young people to be in there engaging in the arts. So it's really not about saying, oh, here's some tickets to a show. That's nice, but that's not what's needed. Young people, especially like the ones that we serve, need to feel like they belong. Like, think about belonging. Like, how do you help them feel like they belong in that space? So the poets and the singers, can they open an event? Is there an art display that you want them to respond to? Like, come in, they've done, I say we, I don't do any of that, they do all of that. But we've gone and responded to different art exhibits, things that are happening in history. If an art space is doing that, like, we've had young people just hear stories and then create things around that. And then there's a space made for them to be seen and heard as well. And that is a space that is not a one-off. One-offs are really not a good thing. I mean, I know people think, oh, that's, I did that for them and I did that and I feel good about myself. But that's not what is needed. That's not what is needed at all. And I know we built relationships, and then I kind of stepped back, assuming it would continue the way it was going, and found in that art space that the person who brought us in is not actively involved anymore. And if I wasn't there, they weren't treated as a part of the fabric of the thing. So that relationship and that consistency, and if you're at the top, it has to be something that you stand for, that all your people beneath you know this is how we treat people, and that's like not negotiable, and it's not gonna change when so-and-so walks out the door. So it takes like the leadership at the top to really have those same values for that to consistently happen. But making space, building relationships, understanding that these young people have something to say and something to contribute to what you're already doing. It is a space of reciprocity, and they bring a lot to the table. But thank you for that question.
Good. All right, on that note, we're going to end.